All right, folks, we are in the final stretch of the two-day conference. I want to thank you all for hanging in here. This is the best attendance on a day two that we've ever had. It's actually really endearing. Thank you so much for hanging around, and thank you especially also for joining us for breakfast. Well, the sponsor for this next session is one of my favorite banking institutions. I've had a personal relationship with them when I grew up on Cape Cod. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Adam Earl from Cape Cod 5.
Thanks, Steve. So I'm Adam Earl. I'm a commercial lender at Cape Cod 5. Cape Cod 5 is a community bank that serves southeastern Mass, Cape Cod, and the islands. We provide banking products and services to people and businesses throughout the region. We're also a very active member in the community, supporting organizations and efforts that address issues in the region. And we're very proud to sponsor the Blue Future Conference this year, and we want to say thank you to the Plymouth Foundation for bringing us all together to discuss this very important topic. As a local bank that serves this region, Cape Cod 5 understands the importance of the marine economy and its critical role in the business landscape and local economy in Plymouth and in Massachusetts. We recognize the significance of balancing economic and environmental health, protecting and leveraging coastal resources, and supporting a year-round economy that contributes to the success of the region. And of course, developing the workforce of tomorrow, which is why we're all here. I hope that everyone is enjoying the conference, and I wish you all the best of luck and enjoy the rest of the event. Thank you.
All right, folks, it's my honor, my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker for this afternoon. Josh Cutler serves in the Healy Driscoll administration as Undersecretary in the Executive Office of Labor and Workforce Development. He served 6 terms in the state legislature and is a former House Chair of the Labor and Workforce Development Committee. He also co-chaired, oh, Josh, you disappeared. Josh, what else have you done? No, we got it. He also co-chaired the Future of Work Commission, the Coastal Caucus, and the Workability Subcommittee on Disability Employment. In the House, Josh was champion for workforce development, vocational education, and career center funding. He was lead sponsor of the Wage Transparency Act, Disability Hiring Tax Credit, and Apprenticeship Standards and Reentry Work legislation. Josh was a recipient of the Thomas M. Menino Public Service Award for his work on the disability employment policy. He also has been recognized as Legislator of the Year by the Mass Developmental Disabilities Council, the Association of Developmental Disabilities Providers, the Mass Mental Health Counselors Association, and the Plymouth-Bristol Central Labor Council. You are well rewarded, I see, sir. Josh also holds a Master's in Public Policy from University of Massachusetts at Dartmouth and is a JD from Suffolk Law School. He's an attorney and the author of 2 books on local history, and I think he is a man uniquely positioned to accelerate our area into the future. Please welcome Undersecretary Josh Cutler.
All right, thanks, Steve. We can leave that open, actually, so I can see.
Oh, see your, oh no,
Yes.
That's a different laptop.
Oh, all right,
that.
all right.
No, here you go.
I'm good. Oh, look at that. Wow. Okay. Well, good morning still, everybody. It's great to be here. All right. Thank you for that very kind introduction, Steve. I appreciate it. I'm excited to be here. I guess I'm sort of the closer. I know you've had a great 2-day conference. I heard yesterday was great. Maybe last night some of you had a lot of fun, maybe too much fun. I hope you're doing okay this morning. We'll do our best to close out strong and have a little bit of fun at the same time. So again, my name is Josh Cutler. I'm the Undersecretary, the Executive Office of Labor and Workforce Development. I bring greetings from Secretary Jones and Governor Healy and the team Massachusetts, as we like to say. And so and the young man at the table, what is your name? Skylar. Can you advance the slide for me, Skylar? Oh, I pushed this, right? Yeah. All right, green. Look at that. All right. I've already passed the first test. So, all right. Can anybody guess what we have here? I'll take some volunteers. Closers, that's right. Famous closers, all right. Because I'm your closer, so I wanted to share some other famous closers with you. Now, who can name our famous closers? I hope you can get the one on the left. Jonathan Papelbon, all right. The one in the middle, you have to be old like me to remember. Quisenberry, thank you. Thank you. Top right, Eckersley. And of course, unfortunately, we had to throw in Mariano, yeah, one of the greatest closers. But so some great closers, just to get you thinking of that. I'll try to be a great closer, not blow the save, all right? All right. Here we go. So we're going to start off with some quick data, and then we're going to get into some fun stuff. But I just wanted to share, and this is actually literally just hot off the presses. Just yesterday, we released new economic data. It's highlighting what's happening here in Massachusetts. And you can see our unemployment rate continues to be very low, 3.8%. It did tick up 0.1% over the previous month, although we are still below the unemployment rate at the national level, which is heartening to see. Our labor force, and again, we're here to talk about our labor force, grew by 6,500 jobs, which is another positive indicator. And our labor force participation rate, which is basically the formula that we look and see how many people are participating in the economy, in the workforce, ticked up to 66.4%. And then the employed population went up by 2,700 workers. So we see some, unsettlement with the unemployment rate, but generally we're continuing to see very positive indicators of the Massachusetts economy. And you can see here on the chart, I don't know if you can see the numbers there, but our real GDP growth here in Massachusetts continues to trend upward. You can guess, of course, what the big V in the middle of that was for COVID. But since that time, you can see our economic recovery in blue, which is the top line, and then across the nation in red there. So you can see we continue to trend in a positive direction in terms of our GDP. So just some quick baseline information. All right. Let's see if this works. Okay. And here you can see, you probably can't read those categories, but this is the year-over-year employment data in different sectors. And so you can see our fastest growing sectors continue to be healthcare and construction. So you can see that top number, 23,000 jobs created since last year in healthcare and social assistance. Looks like about 6,000 jobs in construction. And down at the bottom, you can see IT, information technology, is one of the areas that's shedded some jobs. So you can see where the distribution of job growth is throughout the Massachusetts economy. But we're here to talk about our growing blue economy, right? And let me just say, it's great to be back. I was here last year for this event. I know this is something that has been growing every year, and I'm really excited as a South Shore guy myself, excited to see Plymouth at the forefront of this, and congratulate all of you and the people, folks running the conference for a great job here. We've had a team from our Executive Office of Labor here both days, and they tell me that they've just made some great connections with other folks, and it's been a really worthwhile experience, so thank you. And while I'm mentioning our team, I want to mention Kristen Burrell, our Senior Apprenticeship Coordinator, Liaison at the Department of Labor, here's joining me. So thank you, Kristen. All right, so you can see our growing blue economy. This is some data that we recently pulled. Nearly 87,000 ocean sector jobs here in Massachusetts. Collectively, those add up to more than $4.1 billion in wages, which is a big number. If you look over the past year, and I apologize, there's a little typo there, that's my fault. There's been a 9% increase in the marine industry over the past decade, which has contributed nearly $9 billion to our Massachusetts state economy. And, we think of tourism and recreation as key parts of our blue economy, although it's great to see that AI and other types of advanced manufacturing, technology are also at the forefront here of our blue economy. But our traditional tourism and recreation sectors, which were very hard hit by COVID, have seen some good, strong recovery. They make up 74% of our marine economy employment. So we continue to see growth in our blue economy, as all of you know, or you wouldn't be here, which is very exciting. And it's really encompassing a broad spectrum of different sectors. So I wanted to just briefly talk about what we're doing in Massachusetts. I know you got to hear from my colleague, Undersecretary Ashley Stolbe, I believe yesterday, who works just literally across the hall from us in economic development. So really at Labor and Workforce Development, we're really focused on our workforce. And we are required every period of time, every administration, to develop a new workforce agenda. But rather than just produce a kind of perfunctory report that would sit on a shelf, Secretary Jones and Governor Healy wanted to really develop a living document that would be, serve as a road marker, as a road map for us here in the Commonwealth for developing our workforce. And so we came up with this workforce agenda called Meeting the Moment to Attract, Retain, and Develop a Future Workforce. And there's a lot of different elements of our workforce agenda, and I don't have time to talk about all of them today. I want to focus in on one of them in particular. But I want you to think about each of these key pillars: talent, attraction, and retention, talent development, leadership by example, and workforce systems infrastructure. And so when I talk about workforce systems infrastructure, that's kind of the, as Governor Walz would say, the blocking and tackling of government, and making sure our databases are updated, our infrastructure for workforce is updated, and doing those kinds of things. Leadership by example. I was just chatting in the hallway with some folks talking about skills-based hiring and how, in the Commonwealth, we've moved to a skills-based hiring model. Something I'm very proud. Our Secretary Jones really deserves a lot of credit, my boss. She worked with our colleagues, and Governor Healy signed an executive order earlier this year putting Massachusetts on the record for moving towards a skills-based hiring process, which is something I know a lot of employers are already doing. And if you're not, thanks, Sheila. If you're not, you should be thinking about this, because we need to move away from this sort of rote, focus on degrees, and we need our degrees and we love our community colleges. But it's really about skill development and certifications and stackable credentials, and that's where we're moving as a Commonwealth. I know many of you are already ahead of the game. But that's how we as a Commonwealth can show leadership. We're not just the government, we're a big employer. And so by changing our own policies at the Commonwealth, we can be a leader. Talent development and talent attraction and retention is what I really wanted to talk about. We know, workforce is tight. It's hard to find skilled talent in many cases. And so what do? Well, we know that there's talent on the sidelines. And here in Massachusetts, we can't afford to have any talent on the sidelines. I like to say, we're not blessed here in Massachusetts with abundant, oil reserves or natural gas or diamond mines or year-round sunshine or those types of things. What powers our economy is our workforce. It's our skilled workforce. That's what's always powered the Massachusetts economy. And so when we're in such a tight workforce, we can't afford to leave people on the sidelines. And that's really been the emphasis for the Healy Driscoll administration, is removing barriers, getting people back to work, thinking creatively about how we can get talent in the game. Whether that's trying to remove barriers to help people with disabilities find employment. This month happens to be National Disability Employment Month. Working with people who are reentering after being incarcerated and getting them in the workforce. Working with our recent immigrants, getting them approved, work authorized, so that they can be part of our workforce. You name it. We have to really think creatively about ways to get our talent and upskill incumbent workers so that all of you can find the talent that you need to run your businesses. So that's really the focus of our agenda. And I wanted to talk about, in particular, let's see if this works. Okay. I wanted to talk about one aspect of this in particular, just to give you an example of some of the things that we're doing. And I need a little help for this one, so I've gone to my go-to help, which is Star Wars, okay? And hopefully this will work if I press this button. Right? Okay, I give them the thumbs up. Okay, let's give it a shot. The volume's up.
Always two there are, no more, no less. A master and an apprentice. Be mindful of the living force, young Padawan. You will be tempted by the dark side of the force. One must destroy in order to create.
Master, it's been a while. Things have changed.
Confronting fear is the destiny of a Jedi.
Buckle up.
Never be afraid of who you are. That's the point. What you have learned. Repair what they grow beyond. You have been well trained, my young apprentice. They will be no match for you.
All right, so Star Wars. So I'm a Star Wars fan, so I like to use that and talk about something called apprenticeship, which is a tool in our toolbox for talent development that I know some of you are already familiar with, and hopefully all of you will be by the end of our little brief presentation. And I know you will be, because we're going to do a quiz in a moment, okay? So there's going to be audience participation, okay? You don't get just to sit through the last presentation of the day and then be gone, all right? So we have a little audience participation coming, so I'm just warning you. But, think about what Yoda said. We are what they grow beyond. Pass on what you have learned. Those are some wise words to follow as we think about our workforce. And it so happens, here we go. Here in Massachusetts, I know you've probably heard the term apprenticeship. We have what's called registered apprenticeship, and you may think of your mind may go to thinking about an iron worker or someone in a blacksmith, and that is absolutely true. That construction trades and building trades are a key part of our apprenticeship ecosystem today, but it's grown much beyond that, and we have apprenticeships in all different types of fields these days, including some of the ones you can see here. I won't read them all, but if you can see, it says auto mechanic, clinical trial associate, community healthcare worker, credit analyst, cyber security analyst, alcohol and drug counselor, network security administrator, phlebotomist, didn't know what that was at first, software analyst, web developer, you name it, all different types of professions that now have registered apprenticeship programs here in the Commonwealth. And it's because we know it's a great model for developing talent. And that's what we're doing in terms of trying to find different tools to develop talent. And so we like to joke, because it's registered apprenticeship program, and so we like to say there's a wrap for that, because there's a registered apprenticeship program for almost any occupation you can think of. So if you're an employer trying to fill a position and having difficulty, come talk to us. It may be that is a position that could benefit from a registered apprenticeship program. And what is a registered apprenticeship program, you're going to ask, right, Josh? And so we're going to just give you a quick primer on this. An apprenticeship, people may think of, an apprenticeship, that's like, an internship, right? No, it's actually quite different. An apprenticeship is earn while you learn model. It's working on the job and getting paid while you learn. So the key components are laid out here. It's a paid job. You earn as you learn with a guaranteed wage that increases as you develop new skills. It also combines related technical instruction, classroom instruction, online, virtually, in person, whatever the case may be, that helps you develop those skills while you're taking and learning on the job. Sometimes it can come before, sometimes during. At the end of your apprenticeship, you get a nationally recognized credential, a stackable credential that you can use in your career and take with you, just like we talked about skills-based hiring a moment ago. So those are some of the key elements. It also has a mentor-mentee relationship. So you have someone who's your mentor on the job that can really kind of guide you and help you. So those are some of the key aspects of a registered apprenticeship. So everybody is an expert now, all right? Did everybody pay attention to that last slide? All right, well, we're going to put you to the test. All right, so a pop quiz. Okay, we're going to have a little fun about registered apprenticeship, and we're going to learn a little bit in the process. So my first question here, what do Julia Child, Leonardo da Vinci, Ozzy Osbourne, and Benjamin Franklin all have in common? Was it A, they were all born in Boston? They were all famous social media influencers. They were all fashion icons. I would actually argue that this one is true. Or D, they all started their careers as apprentices. Now, would anyone like to, by show of hands, like to vote on this? Anyone say A? Okay, no. B? Benjamin Franklin was actually born in Boston, which I think we should take more credit from Benjamin Franklin. Somehow Pennsylvania stole him, but he was a Boston guy. But they weren't all born in Boston. B, no. C, anyone want to go for a fashion icon? No. D? All right. D. So most people are going with D. Let's see. Yes, that is correct. They all started their careers as apprentices. Congratulations. Give yourself a round of applause, Kristen. Thank you. Okay, Elvis Presley. Now, everybody here knows who Elvis Presley is, right? Okay. So I joke. I went to an event not too long ago, much younger folks, and I don't think everyone knew who Elvis Presley was. So we have some learning to do there. The famous singer Elvis Presley was also known as the King of Rock and Roll. Maybe that sounds familiar. Served 2 years in the U.S. Army. Maybe. Was once an electrical apprentice. Or D, all of the above. All right, anybody have any answers? D? Delta? Let's see. Yes, all of the above. Elvis Presley started his career as an electrical apprentice. Yes. And talking about AI, that's a ChatGPT depiction of Elvis as an electrician. So you can judge for yourself how that worked. All right. Everybody 2 for 2? All right. Good. All right. Number 3. Now, who's the handsome guy on the left first? Me. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Last time I did this presentation, it was total silence. So quick little funny story. We went out and went to Springfield to Bay State Medical Center because they had stood up a new registered apprenticeship program for sterile processing technicians. Again, something I didn't really know existed before, but it turns out that it's pretty important that when you're having surgery, the tools that are used by the surgeon are sterilized. And so there are people who expedite this and who focus in on this, who specialize in sterilizing tools used in surgery. And they were having trouble filling this role, and so they turned to us and developed a registered apprenticeship program for sterile processing technicians. And so we got to go out and visit, and of course we had to put on the garb to walk through the lab there. So I got the nice, fun photo. So, all right, back to the story. Back to the quiz, I mean. Which of the following occupations is not currently a registered apprenticeship program in Massachusetts? A, cybersecurity analyst. Okay. If you've been paying attention closely, you would have an answer on that. B, sterile processing technicians. If you were paying attention a moment ago, you would probably know the answer to that. C, a credit analyst. Okay. So which of the following is not currently a registered apprenticeship program in Massachusetts? Or is it D, a Jedi Knight? Anyone want to venture a guess? D? Anybody have a different answer? I didn't hear a lot of enthusiasm for the D. Are you guys not big Star Wars fans, or? Well, so you know what? I'm blaming Kristen. No. We're working on it. Our team is working on it very hard. So next time I come back, we'll try to stand one up. But we're open to anything. We're working with some beer distributors that are trying to stand up a beer making apprenticeship program. So maybe there'll be a Jedi Knight one. Don't never say never. So yes, but that is correct. All of the other registered apprenticeship programs are formally current registered apprenticeships here in Massachusetts. So the point being that there's a lot of different types of occupations that can have a registered apprenticeship program, just not, sadly, Jedi Knight. All right, number 4. A registered apprenticeship offers which of the following benefits? Is it A, paid job experience with progressive wages? B, related technical instruction? C, receiving an industry-recognized credential? Or our friend, D, all of the above? Anybody want to shout out? D? Are we pretty sure about that? All right, let's see. D, all of the above. Yes, another round of applause. You're doing good. All right, last question. Don't blow it here. The Healey-Driscoll administration has awarded apprenticeship expansion and opportunity grants in which of the following? A, $250,000 for child care teacher apprentices, $250,000 for licensed alcohol and drug counselor apprenticeships, $200,000 for cybersecurity apprenticeships, or D, all of the above? Anyone want to venture a guess? D, are we sure? All right, D it is, all of the above. Give yourselves a round of applause. This was my first week on the job. I think last year when I came here, I was still in the legislature, and I transitioned over in February. And about a week later, we got to do this grant announcement and invest up as much as $5 million in state and federal funding in apprenticeship, which is really exciting. And we're now seeing the fruits of that labor, those resources pay off in our communities. But that's Secretary Jones and myself and some of my colleagues at that grant award. So you can see the depth and breadth of apprenticeship goes far beyond just our building trade. So did everybody get 5 out of 5? Anybody not? Anybody? Ron, I'm looking at you. Did anybody get it? Well, give yourselves a round of applause for passing the apprenticeship test. You've graduated, all right? And I'm very excited that I had such a smart audience. I know Steve told me we'd have a bright audience here, but I hope you get to see a slice of what we're doing here in the Healey-Driscoll administration. This is just one tool in our toolbox. Apprenticeship obviously is a much broader workforce agenda, but it's only in partnership with all of you that happens. So I want to thank you for giving me the chance to speak with you today. Hopefully I've done a decent job closing, and I think we have some time for Q&A right after this. So thank you very much. Green, yeah, good to see you.
Good to see you. So just in your comment about the talent skills and bringing that forward with apprenticeships and with the Executive Office of Labor. What are the conversations around criminal justice reform and although ensuring training opportunities for this population, what is it looking like on the employer conversation side for placement in these positions?
Yeah, so I don't know, did anyone hear the question? It was basically about reentry programs for people, criminal justice involved individuals. So I think number one for apprenticeship, and we don't discriminate. Everyone is welcome to do an apprenticeship. There's no barrier there. I know, our colleagues over at Commonwealth Corporation do a lot with funding with reentry programs. I know from having visited Massasoit Community College, seeing some of the programs that they've had there. I visited their diesel mechanic program that we got to see firsthand, which is really, really cool. I know our community colleges are really at the front lines of this, and I know you're sitting with some colleagues there, which is fantastic. So I think we definitely recognize that we have to be open to the workforce wherever talent comes. We know that talent is everywhere, opportunity is not always, and so removing those hurdles so that everyone has the opportunity, including people who coming out of a period of incarceration or have maybe have some issues on their history. We need to be focused on what skills do they have, and that's really what drives the conversation. I think there's a lot of exciting things happening. I know you guys are doing some good stuff at Massasoit, so I appreciate the great work that's happening there. So, but yeah, there's a lot of different resources, I would say, for our reentry programs. Sheila, and then we'll work our way back.
I wanted to ask, going off the skills, I think it's really great about having, the skills assessments. I think when it came down, I think working with me, like in higher ed and hiring people, how do we get people to change their mindset, of like, you may not have a master's degree in this, but you've worked in this field for this amount of time. And how do you change mindsets? Because I think, at my school, there's 5 or 6 people on a committee, and you go, okay, well, they don't have this master's, but they've been in the field for 20 years. How do we change? Are there going to be some infrastructure or some thoughts on how we do that in the future? Because I think it came out, and I think it's kind of like by person or by committee that goes, well, I think that person would be good, but there's not a lot of infrastructure, I think, as to what we would say, like, 20 years in the field is considered to be this or that, or is it considered to be 1 degree or 2 degrees or something like that? So I'm just wondering what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I think we're seeing a lot of movement on that. I mean, I always said when I was in the legislature, it's easy to pass laws. It's harder to change attitudes about things. And I think, but attitudes about this are already changing. And I think many employers, progressive employers are already realizing this and have come to, and are already doing really good work in this area in terms of, thinking about skills versus, degrees. And as I just mentioned, I think the Commonwealth is not just your government, but it's a major employer. And so when we make a decision, a policy change to move towards a skills-based hiring, I think that's a signal to the industry, to the private sector that, hey, this is something that we should take a look at. The Commonwealth's doing it. A lot of other businesses are doing it. So, I don't know if there's like legislation that needs to follow that. I don't know if that's the case, but I think we can be leaders by example, and I think that's really happening today. And a lot of what's happening at the community college level, we're talking about partnerships just yesterday about partnerships with our community colleges and apprenticeship programs, doing a dual degree type of things. I think that's really where the future is at. And I think, community college is really where the future's at. And Governor Healy has obviously made a big investment with our friends in the legislature. I always want to thank our former friends in the legislature for supporting that. And I know Representative Lenatra was here, and I believe Representative Muratori, and I'm sure Senator Moran, our local delegation here, with Mass Reconnect, which you all know about, to really open doors and make community college accessible to all. So I think there's some really exciting things happening, but it depends on all of us working together on it. I saw a couple more questions this way. Yeah.
Yeah, so I saw a biomedical manufacturing technician. I wonder how long does it take to put that together? Because we're on the AI manufacturing side, not quite biomedical. I'm wondering.
So it's a great question. So each occupation has, the U.S. Department of Labor has apprenticeship guidelines for over 1,000 different occupations. So it really depends on what specific occupation you're looking to fill. Typically, it's a 1 to 2 year type of apprenticeship. Some apprenticeships are longer. but they're not shorter. So that's one of the key differences between an internship and an apprenticeship. An apprenticeship is a minimum of a year on the job work versus an internship.
It's 5, so most guys that go through, they're like, it's 5 weeks. So it's nice to know you get a 2.
Yes, so yeah, in the building trades, it tends to be longer. And for some types of positions, it might be longer, but it can be as short as 1 year. But, as I mentioned, I introduced Kristen earlier. We have a whole team, our apprenticeship liaison team. Oh, beautiful. And they're there to help you, kind of walk you through that process. We do weekly webinars where you can do a Q&A online. We'll come to you. We'll do whatever we need to do to kind of help you develop a program if that's what you want to do. Yeah.
Yeah, the back. Hey, Josh. Jeremy Devaney.
Oh, Jeremy, I could barely see. Hey, good to see you, Jeremy.
Thanks for coming down and being here with us today. Representing the Atlantic Resiliency Innovation Institute today, really interested. 2 things for you. One is community colleges are now free. For the state of Massachusetts, how do we extend some of that tuition reimbursement to workforce development programs? If we're going to be completing it with a certificate, it would seem to fall within that same purview. How do we get that reimbursement pipeline to support our programming? And then 2, one of the big issues that I hear folks talking about is organization within the MarTech industry or the blue industry itself. Really jealous of life science and the wind industries and all the attention they've garnered. Grade us, if you will. You talk to a lot of different industries. Where are we in terms of maturity for an industry, and what suggestions do you have to take us to the next level and really get us greater visibility on the state's game sheet?
All right, Jeremy. Wow. Okay. Where's Granatino? Can he help me? No, thank you. Those are great questions. So I think on the first bit, in terms of funding, there are a lot of resources available for workforce training programs. Commonwealth Corporation, through the WCTF, the Workforce Competitiveness Trust Fund, the WTP program, there's throwing a lot of acronyms out at you. If you're not already familiar with those, definitely reach out. We can connect you. There are, because of the support of the legislature, we've had some record funding for workforce development programs. Mass Hire. I know you're sitting next to some of the Mass Hire folks. Definitely, I'm sure you're already talking with them, but if not, you should. They get, WIOA funding. They get state dollars as well to help be that bridge. So there are resources, a lot of resources available. Apprenticeship programs are a great example. It doesn't cost anything, really. In fact, we have tax credits. You can get up to $5,000 tax credit for having an apprentice. So there's some benefits there, and we do, as you saw, with grant funding. In terms of the sector, I think, that's a great question. I don't know how I'd answer that. I think it's a growing sector. It's a nascent still sector. I think of, it is like some of our other sectors. I am a coastal person. I happen to live in the South Shore, as you know, and so it's certainly on my radar screen. I think it's of growing importance throughout the state. We have the Seaport Economic Council, which you may be familiar with, which does a lot of funding for seaport economic development, which is something that the legislature has really reinvested in. So that's one way we can help lift it up. I think, it might be a great idea, get your local legislators to do a Blue Economy Caucus at the State House. That would be one step you could take to kind of elevate this. I think they would be really receptive to that. I would have been when I was in that role. But I think there's more that can be done, and I know probably my colleague, Undersecretary Stolba at Economic Development, that's really in their wheelhouse, so they do a lot of economic development work and have a great team there. But those are some thoughts just off the top of my head, Jeremy, but happy to chat more about it. Yeah, thank you. Yes?
Hi, good afternoon. Abigail Archer. I work for Woodsell Oceanographic Institution, Sea Grants. We've been doing a lot of workforce development training programs around aquaculture and shellfish aquaculture in particular, and trying to recruit more diversity into that workforce. Something we have come up against is that we haven't found a lot of resources on training for the employers to make sure that they're creating, maintaining safe spaces for their diverse employees. They're out on the water, not a lot of people around, they are unique spaces. So we kept thinking that there was a training out there to help figure out how to conversations with your employees and make sure that you are creating a safe and welcoming space. Things to do, things not to do. Basics, but it's a need out there. So are there any initiatives within the state level to sort of create trainings like that for different types of workforce spaces?
Sure. No, that's great. I live in Duxbury. Aquaculture is a big industry in my area, and obviously here in Plymouth and throughout this part of Massachusetts, which is fantastic. So I think WCTF, the Workforce Competitive Trust Fund, I think those funds could be used for something like that. I'd have to kind of check the fine print. I don't want to steer anybody wrong. You know, getting back to the apprenticeship piece that we're talking about, I mean, you know, we give out grant funding that can be used for that. You know, it's for wraparound services. You know, we talk about, I'm surprised housing or transportation hasn't come up yet, maybe it will, but I know that's one of the big issues that we hear about, housing and transportation and you know, so, and the third one would be childcare, because if you can't get to work, or if you have a, you know, you can't afford to get childcare, you know, you're not gonna be able to be in the workforce. And so we do include funding for some of those wraparound services, so that could potentially fit into that. Probably need to sit down and think about some of the programs, but I would encourage you, again, I don't want to pick on our Mass Hire friends, but I would definitely encourage you to talk to your Mass Hire. I don't know the region they are, probably be at a Barnstable. Yeah, Ron can tell me where the geography ends. But you know, I think they would be a good resource. And then, you know, feel free to reach out and we can try to brainstorm some other funding sources that might be available for that. But, and there's also, you know, like there's the Shellfish Association, I know that's a growing trade group that probably would have some good input too. And I don't know, I know we had the Mass Building Marine Trade folks here too. Some of they might have some ideas too. Yeah. John,
Josh Krasivalov with 13 Mari. Really, I'm not familiar with the program. So what are logistically, what are the first steps we need to do?
I'm sorry, I couldn't, what was the beginning? What are the first steps for the apprenticeship program or for something else? Oh, okay, I'm sorry, yeah, what are the first steps? So the first step is just really, you know, we have a webinar that we do, that our team does, where you can, you know, log on, schedule, it's, you know, individualized. It's like a 30-minute presentation, and then afterwards you can ask questions, kind of get into the details. And then if you're sort of, you know, ready to move to the next step, you schedule what's called a discovery session with our team, and you'll have sort of a one-on-one chance to talk about, you know, what you're trying to accomplish through your registered apprenticeship program, and make sure it's, you know, an apprenticeable occupation, and kind of get you on that track, and then you'd create a program. And the way, you know, the way it works with us, it's your program. You're registering it with us, but it's your program. It has to fit within, you know, certain statutory requirements, but at the end of the day, it's really your program. You're just choosing to register that with us, which gives it that, you know, accreditation that has all those benefits that we talked about, you know, the progressive wages, the industry recognized certification, sort of that state seal of approval, if you will. But the first step is to do that webinar with our team, and Kristen, who you happen to be sitting pretty close to, is probably the best person to give you that info, and grab her business card after the show. Okay, yeah. Were there any other? I think I saw someone in the back, but no? Going once, going twice? All right, well, thank you very much, everybody, I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Guys, what a great way to end the program, am I right? I want to thank Josh. I also want to thank Ashley for being our keynote speakers. I certainly want to thank our guests and our sponsors, our panelists and facilitators. If you are a sponsor, facilitator, or a panelist and you did not receive your conference jacket, a free gift from the foundation for helping us put on a great conference, please meet me at the foundation table, okay? We have some conference jackets for our sponsors, facilitators, and panelists. Let's see, what else we got? Oh, I want to thank the local scene. You've seen some of the local scene folks walking around here, yes? So videos will be available on the Foundation YouTube channel. Give us a couple of weeks. We're going to do some really great high-quality editing, but each of the sessions will be available in chapter form, so you don't have to watch 2 days worth of something just to get to the thing you're particularly interested in. Let's see, PowerPoint presentations will be available early next week. We'll reach out to each of the facilitators and presenters to make sure that that's okay. You'll be able to find that on the Foundation website. And also, you probably have seen Denise McAferry walking around taking official photography for the conference. There's Denise. Thank you, Denise. You'll be able to find your pictures on denisemcafferry.com, right? Photography.com, that's what I said. So if you Google if you Google Denise McAferry, you'll certainly be able to find her website and your photos. Also, you'll also be receiving an evaluation survey. This is your conference. We do all the work to make sure that you folks walk away with the information that you think you need to facilitate the networking or any kind of product development for commercial use. So please respond to the evaluations. You'll be getting that probably by the end of next week. Yes, Michelle? We'll work on that together. Let's see, what else do we have? Oh, mark your calendars for next year. We're going to do this on STEM Week, okay? We were talking a little bit informally to some of our partners. I think we're going to segment the format a little bit and focus on the student session as a full-day event, maybe as a way to kick off STEM Week, and then we're thinking about maybe doing our conference on a Thursday, so that way the networking event is more appreciable for a Friday. Does that sound good for everyone? Right? And then we don't have to get back together again on Friday morning, right? All right. I want to acknowledge my friend Katie Aikison, who's here in the audience, Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce. Normally I would bring Katie up so she can make some inflammatory comments about me. Katie and I went to Nauset together on Cape Cod, and I think it's pretty telling that between Katie, myself, and Ashley Stolba, we have 3 Cape natives for the most part who are leading this conversation for Blue Economy. So I can't thank you enough, Katie, for your support from Cape Cod. Please join us in May at the Cape Cod Chambers Conference. The last 2 days of April, okay? Mark your calendars for that also. I'll be hanging around for a little while longer. Thank you all so much for making this a great conference. Give yourselves a round of applause.